In this edition of the Resilient Professional Podcast, we're going to talk about what resilience is and why it's so important to both our personal and professional lives. Welcome to the Resilient Professional Podcast. Professional success really is a game of inches. You have the experience and knowledge, but you realize that professional success is more than just knowledge and experience. It's actually applying what you already know. It's about consistently applying what you know in spite of the challenges that are sure to come your way. You know, Olympians know how to battle adversity and to perform at their best, even in the midst of setbacks and frustrations. I think we can learn a lot from the Olympian mindset. It really is about the cultivation of resiliency. Physical resiliency, emotional resiliency, relational resiliency, cognitive resiliency, resiliency in each aspect of our lives. On a regular basis, we'll unpack these ideas through guest speakers and podcast material that will take you to the next level of professional success. I think initially a lot of people, when they hear the idea or the notion or the word resilience, it does imply a bounce back. And I think sometimes people think that it implies a bounce back to its original form, that if we go through challenging times, we bounce back to the way we were. But I think a better definition around resilience, and I want to talk about both the definition and some additional components to this notion of resilience, because I think it's so critical. It's critical in our home lives, our family lives, and our professional lives, because without resilience, our effectiveness is not only eroded, but so is our personal health and our relationships. So what's resilience? I think resilience does imply a bounce back. It does imply the ability to get through significant challenges that we face in our lives. And it does imply a bounce back, but it's a bounce back to probably a different reality. That when we go through challenging circumstances or challenges in our life, we are changed people often. We don't come back exactly the way we were. Our relationships are impacted, our cognition, our physicality, our physical health, our energy, our environment. All kinds of things have changed and will change. Now, that doesn't mean that we're less effective. And in fact, these changes and these challenges that push our resilience to the maximum can actually be opportunities to forge more strengths, more abilities. The ability to actually weather and withstand great changes and turmoil and challenges in the future. And in fact, I think resilience properly handled can lead to growth that takes us to a place where we're stronger, have more ability, have enhanced our skills in ways that we couldn't have imagined before the challenging period had hit our lives and put us into a bit of a turmoil. So that's the first thing. Resilience does imply a bounce back, but it does imply a bounce back in a changed form, and hopefully a better form, that we learn things from periods of challenge and change that make us better. Now, another thing about resilience is that it takes faith. Resilient people find meaning in every aspect of life, and they look for the meaning and purpose in even the negative things. You know, Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, talked about what separated those people who got through the Auschwitz death camps and those that didn't. And the people that psychologically and emotionally and physically seemed to handle that challenge the best were the people that had cultivated deep-seated meaning and purpose in the midst of challenge and chaos. And so we have to have this basic faith and trust that life is worth living fully, that we can make a contribution irrespective of the challenges that we have to face. Another thing about resilient people is that they are realists. So resiliency and being a resilient professional or individual does not imply a Pollyanna, glass is half filled perspective all the time. It does imply that you face the current reality of your circumstances with an attitude of, what am I dealing with here? What is the current reality? What are the challenges that I'm facing? What are the things that I have to overcome to get through this challenge? And so we properly assess the reality of our situation, but we're also hopeful at the same time that we can marshal our resources, our gifts and abilities, our relationships in such a way that we can get through this challenging period. So we're not Pollyanna. We're not people who ignore our problems and try to pretend they're not there. But we are realists. And because we're realists, we can then develop a plan that can successfully attack the issues that we're facing currently. The other thing that resilient people tend to have the ability to exhibit during times of a challenge is the ability to be grateful and to forgive. And what do I mean by that? No matter what challenge you're facing, there is always an opportunity to look into that challenging period and be grateful for something. And why is that important? Study after study after study confirms that grateful people can access and tap into higher levels of creativity and cognition, that physically they're healthier. So in the midst of challenge and change, it's vitally important that you cultivate this habit of gratefulness, to intentionally spend time every day being grateful, whether it's relationships in your life or the health that you're experiencing, or it's even just the world we live in. You know, we live in a world where people have gone before us and sacrificed in mighty ways to build hospitals and educational institutions and road systems. And we need to be thankful and be very grateful for those things. Previous generations have fought for freedoms that we often take for granted. And then forgiveness. Resilient people have the ability to forgive, not to hold on to those grudges. We've all been hurt. We've all gone through difficult times when we feel misunderstood, or maybe that we're victims, or we're being scapegoated. But at the end of the day, all those emotions around those issues do not serve you in any way in your journey to personal resiliency or professional resiliency. You need to cultivate the ability to forgive. All the great religions through the ages have emphasized the importance of this aspect to our lives. When you hold on to those hurts and pains and grudges and anger, the only person it hurts is you. So cultivate forgiveness. That's what resilient people do. Another quality that exhibits commonly by resilient people is the ability to be thinking out of the box people. To have the ability to look at their current circumstances and try not to find solutions given the current toolkit or toolbox, constellation of skills, abilities, experiences that they've used in the past to solve problems. Very often when we're caught during difficult periods, it takes a new way of thinking, a new creativity to find solutions to your challenges. Now that's a hard thing to draw upon when you're going through a difficult time. And in fact, resilient people have cultivated the ability to be creative during times of relative tranquility. In other words, you need to cultivate creativity in your life before the challenges hit. Now, whether that's journaling or writing or painting or playing an instrument, I mean, it's different for all of us. We have different ideas about what creativity is and how we can foster it, but there's a myriad of outlets for expressing your creativity and developing it. So I'd encourage you right now, if you shut that aspect of your life out and kind of think it's impractical, why spend the time doing it? I would stop right now and really think hard about the question of, am I cultivating creativity? Because in a pickle, in a pinch, in a challenge, when your resiliency is tested to its limits, the secret weapon that will help you find ways, creative ways of getting through it, will be the fostering of your creativity. So again, is it painting? Is it great art? Hobbies? Writing? Journaling? Whatever it is for you, whatever piques your interest, start out today to explore that mode of creativity development to enhance your personal resiliency. Now, the other thing that resilient people have done is they've created very strong social networks. You have social support. And they also see the absurd, the humor in very difficult circumstances. Some of us have an inclination, a natural orientation to humor, sometimes dark humor, but it gets us through difficult times. Other of us, it's not that easy. So whether it's humorous movies or shows or plays, make sure you expose yourself to humor, because that'll help you get through that difficult time. And then the cultivation of relationships and social networks is incredibly important. And so if you have relationships right now, during a period of relative tranquility, I mean, we all have our challenges through the day and the week, but things generally are good. But please make sure you take the time to work on those relationships, to have that social community, that social support, because those relationships will become absolutely critical when you go through difficult times. And one of the big challenges in our society these days is we're so fragmented. We're so scattered socially. In spite of being in crowded urban centers, so many people say they're lonely and feel isolated. And we replace real connections and relationships with social media, which are really not a relationship, but a transaction. So those are just some of the things that I would encourage you to ponder or think about when it comes to resiliency and what it means. If you're interested in the topic, and if you're interested in the topic both personally and professionally, make sure you download the Resilient Professional ebook that we've developed. All kinds of tools, exercises, information, and assessment surveys to help you improve your professional and personal resiliency.